India, the land of intoxicating colors and sounds. India, the land of a cultural heritage so rich and varied that no entity has ever even tried to encompass or define it. India, the land of festivals, each one celebrated joyously by the entire nation. India, the land of diversity that still manages to be one. The diversity is no less evident when it comes to India's reading habits. The first known books that were produced for and owned and read by the people were religious books. Very much like the Bible in the West, religious books like the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, the Islamic Quran, the Sikh Guru Granth Sahib, the Mahabharata, etc., began to be owned by families and passed on proudly from one generation to the next.
Ancient India certainly had its reading habit, but it was confined, as we can see, to the elite or people who were involved in religion and rites, and the main materials for reading were either in Sanskrit or in Tamil. It included definitely works of literature of great merit, right from Mahabharata and Ramayana and the various plays of Kalidasa and Bhasa and Bhavabhudi and quite a few other major writers in Sanskrit. And there was also this wonderful body of literature in Tamil called the Sangam literature, which had beautiful poetry. It also had its texts of philosophy like Tirukkural, essentially a Jain text, which was a text of ethics as well as of literature.
Religion has been a great promoter of a reading habit. I can say this about Christianity in particular because reading from the Bible is a central part of Christian worship. Every Sunday, Christians come together and there is reading from the Bible, and these readings are explained and they are meditated upon. So also it is customary in the families during their family prayer to read a chapter or a passage from the Bible and meditate upon it and discuss about it and pray over that passage.
The next major landmark in the Indian history of reading was the freedom movement. As India struggled under the yoke of British rule, an underground resistance movement emerged. In their attempt to create awareness and gain the support of the general populace to overthrow colonial rule and win freedom for India, the resistance movement inadvertently promoted reading in India.
Because the leaders of the freedom struggle, like Gandhi or Nehru or Tilak, all of them took great care to see that more people read and the message of freedom and the message of social reform reach more people in India. So they started journals, magazines, like Gandhi's Harijan, which would be a wonderful example of the kind of journals that were published during that time, aimed at social reconstruction and also anti-colonial, which were meant to propagate anti-colonial feeling. And there were quite a few other journals in all the major languages of India which were committed to the idea of freedom. And there were also translations mainly from English and Sanskrit on the one hand, and also among the different Indian languages on the other. In fact, what you call a public sphere in India began to form during those years.
After independence, the young nation was going through the arduous process of building itself anew. Foundations were being laid in all areas so that the edifice of prosperity could be built with confidence. It was at this time that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, India's first Prime Minister, realizing the singular importance of knowledge, its production and dissemination, felt the need to set up institutions that would work towards not only the promotion of languages and literature, but also books and a reading culture.
Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, a great writer himself, a book lover, in his first message to the NBT, before NBT was formed in 1957, emphasized a point that NBT should work like a book hospital. So it was a very interesting and quite a relevant observation by Panditji, because when we look back, say 55 years after that, his prophetic statement is coming true to a certain extent, because there is a general view that the younger generation are moving away from book reading. So the founder of National Book Trust had foreseen this, and he said it is our duty, the duty of NBT, to promote book reading particularly among the youngsters. We did conduct a survey through NCERT a couple of years back to look at the reading habit among the youth all over the country. We took a good cross section of the country and we got some very interesting data on that. So this all throws up very valid points that promotion of book reading among the youth particularly is a very, very important, or rather the pressing need as far as the contemporary Indian society is concerned.
Change is initiated by the youth. Naturally, it is the youth that has been the primary target of efforts to make India read. National Book Trust took this initiative to understand the trend of reading culture of the youth in India and commissioned the National Youth Readership Survey, which offers information and insight into what needs to be done to get more of India reading. The fact that 47% of these readers are urban and the remaining rural says more about the general urban-rural population distribution. Geographically, the western states have the maximum number of youth readers, 32%, followed by the south at 24%, central India with 12%, northern India with 13%, and the northeastern states coming in last with a very low 7%. But much of this last is explained by the attendant difficulties of climate which have prevented the development of infrastructure in the northeast. With not enough roads, it is difficult for books to reach the youth. With not enough books on one hand and a strong oral tradition of learning and storytelling even today, it is little wonder that readers in northeastern India account for only 7% of the Indian reading youth.
अब तो विशेष के सेमकल बड़ बई दा पाई नतुन खाई बई दा परी तबे वो वैकेशन पिरियड सिमी जों सिन स्कुल जे बई दङ माने डिपार्टमेन्ट থেকে जेदा बई रह जागो गल्प बई र स्टोरी बुक र नि किसा प्रबन्ध हाय কোনো কোনো জীবন কাহিনী রক যেমন তাও মহাত্মা গান্ধী রংনি रवीन्द्रनाथ ठाकुर रंनि ए आपते हायरा बय रसिनो किसे संग्रह खालायजोब दङ ए आबो रनो जों साप्लाय खायो बनो डेलिभारि हरा भेकेसन पिरियड हेंखाय बारनो हाय हाय हिफ्लिट फायदे रखायबो उमा हायखाय जों परि दिखनि जों बनो एडभाइस खायो होता ए केन को थमार जों बनो माजे मते क्लासआव कम करक बाय जों आगे जे बिको मसैबाय kerang khasir lai mani kogro ojago butiyo kafi jago ko jinai kerang makhar marok engkai tok ma basat ti tomani boni buti ti tomani kormani no koroi bo kisa adasarani thangmarok orthat durbol no bahai ke ingo nijini kaidau tuman omo high system nekto golporo ka tirung jong sei khana.
Amongst youth readers, the most popular genre is fiction, with 42% preferring fiction over non-fiction, which comes in at 24%. When asked, why did they not read or read more? Indian youth cited many reasons. Almost 42% of youth readers said they had no time to read because of the pressure to perform well in academics, competitive exams, or to earn a living. 39% said they lacked interest in reading, an indication of the socio-economic factors that need to be addressed. 4.6% revealed that they had many more channels of information at their disposal, so they did not feel the need to read. The very small percentage that cited this reason is an indication that a reader is not deterred from reading by the availability of other sources of information.
We all know that the book culture or reading habit of a country is directly linked with the development of human resource potential of that country. So, it can never be overemphasized how much role reading habit or book culture plays in the development of a nation. So far as Bengal is concerned or eastern zone is concerned, particularly in Bengal, there is a culture of reading. Traditionally, Bengal is a reading society. I would believe that partly because of a kind of advantage, historical advantage that Bengal got because of the early Western education, courtesy British rule and the beginning of the British rule of in Calcutta, which was the first capital of British India, colonial India. So, it is Bengal who first received the renaissance of thought and feeling, and as a result a kind of reading habit, a kind of interaction with the Western world, a kind of symphony, a kind of synthesis between the Eastern and Western thoughts and ideals took place in Bengal.
I am happy to say that Kerala in that sense is a kind of example to other states in India when you look at the general reading habit and the reading culture as it is. Because there are several weeklies, journals, dailies and little magazines, and there are publishing houses, very big publishing houses which publish around 500 books a year, and there are also small publishing houses which may publish not more than 20 or 30 books a year, but which are very conscious of the quality of the books they publish. So these publishing houses and the magazines, mainstream magazines, which also give a lot of importance to literature, and the parallel or the little magazines which stand for the new ideas and avant-garde culture. All these together have created a major corpus of writing and also a major population that is involved in reading, and books become a matter of daily discussion in several parts of Kerala, in the tea shops and canteens, in the drawing rooms, in public meetings, everywhere books come up for discussion.
A child's first exposure to books is from the adults around it. If the parents of the child are educated, it is much more likely that they will read, whether for work or pleasure, or both. So it is obvious that readership amongst the youth is closely linked to their parents' level of education. only 25% of literate youth read books for pleasure, relaxation, and knowledge enhancement. India is a land of diverse languages, and it is said that the dialect changes every 200 kilometers that you travel. 1/3 of India's youth readers read in Hindi, followed by 13.2% reading in Marathi and 7.7% in Bengali. These three languages alone account for over half of India's reading youth. You will only buy books and read books if you are a reader. And the more you read, the greater are the chances that you will buy books. It looks like a cycle that is self-perpetuating. Books of all types are being written, illustrated, published, sold, bought, and heard in greater numbers than ever before. Bookshops are opening across cities and stationery stores have begun stocking books. Educational, public, and commercial lending libraries offer a viable way to break this vicious cycle. Numerous old, rare, and second-hand book markets exist in India. these efforts were not enough to develop reading culture. Many organizations like National Book Trust, India, National Bal Bhavan, Bukaru, Pratham, Katha have stepped forward to overcome the enormous challenges India is faced with and to get India reading. The New Delhi World Book Fair, organized by the National Book Trust, has been a biennial event for almost 4 decades now. However, the phenomenal growth in traffic and volume of business generated during the event has promoted the conversion of this event into an annual one as of the year 2013.
ഈ മാതിരി തോന്നിയാസങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുന്നതിന് ഇതിപ്പോൾ പുസ്തകമായി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇത് 10,000-കണക്കിന് കോപ്പികൾ വിറ്റഴിക്കും.
Bala, of course, remained a rebel throughout her life. Always had trouble with high society and the ammas of Mylapore, etc. in Madras.
Tribal cultures are not just, as many people see them, as backward or primitive or something. They are some of the most highly cultured, highly developed cultures in the world.
It is important to have a script which, you can move from one language to another very easily. And you have to also make Santhali accessible to the outsider, because it is not just we learning the mainstream language. We want the mainstream also to learn Santhali.
अच्छे गाने अगर लिखे जाएं, अच्छी बात अगर कही जाए, अच्छी फिल्म अगर बनाई जाए, जैसे विजुअली हम अच्छी चीज़ देखना चाहते हैं, उस तरह हम गानों से भी अच्छी चीज़ सुनना चाहते हैं, लेकिन उसके लिए हमको तकाजा करना पड़ेगा, इसरार करना पड़ेगा कि भाई हमको ये चाहिए. और अब सिनेमा पे इतनी किताबें हैं तो कम से कम खुदा के लिए वो किताबें ही ले जाइएगा. जैसे मदर इंडिया के डायलॉग की किताब है, मुगल आजम की डायलॉग की किताब है, अभी देवदास के वो पुराने वाले देवदास के डायलॉग की किताब है, तो ये ले जाएं, इसको देखिए, इसको पढ़ें. और ये आपकी ज़िंदगी का अब अटूट अंग हो गया है, तो जब जोड़ ही लिया अपनी ज़िंदगी से तो उसको सुधार भी दीजिए, संवार भी दीजिए, थोड़ा सा हुस्न भी दीजिए, उसको थोड़ा सलीका भी दीजिए उसको.
कलकत्ते में एक तहजीब है बंगाल की, उसको वहाँ के सिनेमा ने उजागर किया है. यहाँ ये बात करते हैं अवध की तहजीब, लेकिन अवध की तहजीब जो है वहाँ कुश्ती लड़ी है कुलाबा में और क्या कहते हैं जुहू के बीच पे, तो वो क्या जिंदा रहेगी, वो तो दम तोड़ देगी.
छाप तिलक सब छीन ले रे नैना मिले के।
The response been amazing in concern to the children books.
हम इसी चक्कर में डेली आते हैं यहाँ पर कि हम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा यहाँ पे अपना नॉवेल्स, लिटरेचर, इंग्लिश से रिलेटेड जो बुक्स हैं जिसे हम पसंद करते हैं वो हम पढ़ सकें और उनके बारे में ज़्यादा जान सकें।
ये बहुत अच्छा मौके होते हैं वर्ल्ड बुक फेयर जिसमें कि पब्लिशर्स डायरेक्टली रीडर्स से इंटरेक्ट करता है। उसमें हमें बहुत ज़्यादा डायरेक्ट इंटरेक्शन से काफ़ी लोगों का टेस्ट के बारे में समझ में आता है।
एज ए पब्लिशर बहुत अच्छा अनुभव है यहाँ पर आकर के। इस बार एनबीटी ने काफ़ी अच्छे इनिशिएटिव्स लिए हैं कि ज़्यादा लाइवली है, एनर्जी थोड़ा सा उन्होंने ज़्यादा लगाई है इस बार, सो एक्सपीरियंस लोगों का बेहतर हुआ है।
This is the National Book Trust is an apex body established by the Government of India and then Ministry of Education in the year 1957 to promote reading habits in the country and also create a book environment. To achieve that objective, the National Book Trust has been striving hard for the last 55 years, from books, publishing books to organizing various book fairs and also participating international fairs in abroad and promoting Indian books. Here, when we talk about promotion of books, the book fairs are very important. It's not a small, big. We also hold national level book fair and also state level, we call it regional book fair.
Apart from the New Delhi World Book Fair, there are various other book fairs held across India. The regional book fairs spawn further literary events in smaller towns and cities of their respective states, creating a far-reaching ripple effect. Books are reaching out to people till people begin to reach out to books. As a part of book fairs and also as separate events, Rights Table are regularly organized in India. It is an effort to promote Indian books abroad and to facilitate business interactions to buy, sell translation rights between Indian publishers and foreign publishers. The Rights Table provides a unique opportunity for publishers from across the world to meet each other on a one-on-one basis to tentatively finalize their interest and agreements for transfer of translation rights available in English, Hindi, and other Indian languages. The National Book Week, which is held from 14th to 20th November, is a celebration of books and book-related events, giving people a chance to interact with their favorite authors, illustrators, and to learn about new types of books.
About the time I received the UN invitation to travel to Mexico City, early May 1975, the newspaper headlines were screaming the collapse of South Vietnam as Saigon finally fell on 30th April. The memorable spine-chilling photograph of that American helicopter ringing up with people clinging to withdrawing wheels had dominated newspaper front pages, searing the dreadful sight into public memory forever. The subsequent chilling silence was allowing speculation to run rife about what possibly could be happening further.
He is actually very frank. He talks about the risk of sponsor bias, who's paying for the poll, interview bias, who's doing the interview and how it's being done, source bias, and also, of course, analytical bias, that is, you get all the data, but the way in which you unpack it and release it to the world can itself imply some bias, and substantive analysis of data can always be skewed.
No mention of bibliophilia in India is complete unless it focuses on the very special Bal Shri Awards given out by the National Bal Bhavan, an institution which aims at enhancing the creative potential of children by providing them various activities, opportunities, and common platform to interact, experiment, create, and perform according to their age, aptitude, and ability. The Bal Shri Awards, the highest honor of the country, conferred on creative children in the age group 9 to 16 years, of which creative writing is one. The credit for creating greater awareness and more excitement about books is shared by the organizers of literary festivals. It was the Jaipur Literature Festival which set the ball rolling. In less than a decade, the festival has gained the reputation of being one of the grandest freestanding literary festivals of them all.
The right to dream should be the first fundamental right of the people.
Respect all religions. At the same time, respect non-believers.
If your sash is earthed by evil minds who mean to part us at the last, my sash is of the deep purple alari. It is no tethering rope.
My whole reason for creating a network is literally to bring little pieces of light, is to continue to spread little pieces of light in the world, to illuminate the possibility of the human spirit. I'm a connector.
Provide writers with opportunities to air their opinions on one subject and another.
People stand on one side and power stands very much on the other. And that's what it feels, especially, I think, for young Pakistanis today.
आज मैं सब ਨੂੰ खूब फसावांगी, कईयां दियां नकलां लावांगी, नाले अंग्रेज़ां बारे एक फास्ट चुटकुला सुनावांगी.
Last year in Jaipur we had almost 170,000 people attending over 5 days. And it's free entry, it's the largest free literature festival anywhere in the world. And these audiences come from across India. They are students who come from different parts of India. Sometimes they stay the night in the railway station. They stay in homesteads. And they come to listen to the exchange of ideas, to participate in dialogue. And it shows that India is a thinking country. And the potential to debate ideas in a civilized way and to reach our own conclusions rather than get carried into mass hysteria or into media trivialization, I think it exists in this country. A lot of books are sold in those days, and a lot of books are actually specifically targeted to be released around the Jaipur festival. Over 250 writers attend, and it's a real sangam of literatures. It's a Kumbh Mela of Sahitya ka Kumbh Mela, it's called, and it has given a focus to literary aspirations. But at the same time, there are these wonderful festivals happening across India. Last count there were about 48 across South Asia, 2 in Pakistan, in Bhutan, in Nepal, and in Goa, in Patna, I mean, you name it. There are cities which are celebrating their local literatures and also at the same time opening themselves up to literatures from other states, other languages, and the rest of the world indeed.
It is impossible to speak of literary festivals and not think of Bokaru, the only literary festival in India dedicated to children's books.
Yet
another fantastic Bookaroo. I mean, 5 years old, even bigger, even better. It's been a truly exhilarating experience over the weekend. So many children, so many parents, such excitement in the air.
There is a bit of an aroma happening in the air around us.
Some kind of chill. Who do you think that was?
Unfortunately, what? The session was really good and the kids seemed to enjoy it, and I enjoyed being with them.
Kids were brilliant because it was a participatory storytelling. Kids were totally involved in my story.
She just snapped out of the daydream. Stop. Shh, shh, shh. Drop the necklace. Drop the necklace.
Bookaroo is Asia's biggest children's literature festival. Okay, the idea behind Bookaroo is to get children and books together, to give them access to get books to read, to access to authors, to illustrators, to any resource, anything which is linked to a book, which we can connect to a book. Okay, we started off in 2008, and the idea came about simply because we used to have these little events in the bookstore. And we decided that it's just not possible to reach out to as many people as we wanted to, and it's just a matter of like 20-25 a day maybe if we could do it. And which is why we decided to move out into a bigger platform where we can get in as many children across as many places as possible. And while we were thinking about Bookaroo, we also met a few other people who were probably thinking on those lines, and we got chatting with them, and that's how the idea of Bookaroo was born. And we also had at that time we didn't know we were going to go do it all alone ourselves, but we tried to get in touch with other organizations and anything to a children's organization. But finally we decided to go solo with Bookaroo on our own.
If you read as a child, the chances are that you will read as an adult. And if you read as an adult, there is a very great likelihood that any children around you will read as well. So, targeting the children's market is like ushering in a new age.
I've been in children's publishing for about 10 years now, and slowly and steadily the numbers are increasing. What's increased dramatically is the market for non-Indian books. The series which are doing really well internationally, like Wimpy Kid or Hunger Games or Twilight, have been huge in India, which shows that there is a market, but probably we are failing to create books which are as exciting as what is available internationally, and that's why that market is not responding to Indian books. The other thing is that the Indian publishing is for children is very fragmented, because obviously there is such a huge socio-economic divide in the country, and we speak so many different languages that essentially each publisher is publishing for a small niche market. And I think that's what we need to take into account when we're talking about the size of the market, because clearly within the market that we're addressing, most of us must be doing reasonably well to survive. But if we look at the entire country as a market, then all of us will feel miserable, but then that is not one unified market. You have different language markets, you have, in the English speaking market alone, you have different levels of reading capability.
Eureka started in 2003. It was at that time the first children's bookstore in Delhi. We sort of started with the idea that there was nothing happening on the children's books front when we used to go to book stores to select books or buy books for ourselves also. The books for children were always tucked away in one corner. So Eureka wanted to be the place where children should come and find their books more in number than adults, and it should be the adults section which should be at one corner, which is something that we were able to finally we dreamt of it and we were finally able to do.
Schools are always interested in children reading books, but not textbooks alone. The school of today encourages its children to pick up books on any subject of their interest. The objective? To read.
India needs to read much, much more. And though I've noticed, definitely as an author who keeps visiting schools and interacting with children, I noticed that schools are doing a lot to encourage reading. They're building up their libraries, but it's parents who need to be educated. They need to realize the value of leisure reading, because the problem is that everyone wants their children to perform in class and clear all kinds of exams, and they pursue many kinds of extracurricular activities, but a lot of parents don't understand what children gain from leisure reading. And that is one thing which slowly perhaps is growing, and hopefully this is what will help us to become a more literate country in the real sense of the word, not in just being able to read and write, but also gain from and reinforce reading skills, which again add a lot of value to your life skills.
Reading before, when we were young, it was only from the books. But nowadays, I have seen that the books are accompanied by CDs. And the children find it very interesting. And the whole story is told over there in the CD. And many times it is enacted also. Like the movies are also there. And what I do for my classes, whatever play, suppose they have a Shakespeare play or a Bernard Shaw's play, then we do it in the school itself. We show it to them, the acting of the play, so that if it's a movie, in the form of a movie, then the children really enjoy it, they understand it better, they remember it better. And nowadays books are there nearly of all subjects. It is not only of computers, even of English, where it is accompanied by CDs. So they can listen to the story, they can see the story, and in that way they like really reading the book, and it is sketched in their memory. Because seeing is something which you will be able to remember much more rather than just plain reading. So these are the new trends which I think which will be helpful for the children.
E-books and digital platform is also transforming the publishing industry in books unrelated to children. In a cost-conscious economy with limited space for storing books, e-books offer a wonderful way to read without the hassle of storing or disposing of the books later.
Students, while growing up in a digital age, are not yet familiar with devices at the school level. There have been experiments in getting electronic boards, replacing the traditional blackboard with electronic boards. I remain skeptical about their complete success. I haven't seen any evidence that suggests that they're a roaring success. However, the fact remains that the same level of students work very well with, engage very well with mobile platforms such as iPads or mobile or smartphones or Kindles. So textbooks at the school level, probably we are a few years away from that. Textbooks at the undergrad level, again a consequence of what we actually do at the school level. It's at the research level, the postgrad and doctoral level, that the biggest change has already taken place. Almost every single doctoral student conducts his research on an electronic platform. Most of whatever the doctoral student needs is available only as electronic delivery. When it comes to fiction, the trend is consistently moving towards electronic. There are a lot of platforms that provide electronic only products, and printed products are on demand. So you could theoretically have a book out in 24 hours after you have decided to publish it, and it's available for a price and globally distributed, something that was not possible even 10 years ago. So yes, fiction is taking the lead and has taken the lead. Serious non-fiction is a close follower. Reference is the third, and textbooks will probably bring up the rear.
It is very comfortable to use ebooks because you don't have to actually go out, and you can read it comfortably in your own home at any time. Libraries may not be open at all times. So that's why I prefer reading ebooks.
What's exciting about Indian publishing is the fact that it has been growing exponentially in the last couple of decades, and that it is one of the healthier publishing industries in the world.
In France, we think that we cannot ignore the Indian market anymore, that we have to be present here and now. So we have a team of 4 people trying to bring a French touch in India, in this country, which is, first of all, a multilingual country from the point of view of any publisher.
For Korean publishers, when we try to license or trying to co-edition with the Indian publishers, the transportation cost will be very, very high. Then also impact the retail prices too. So when you also trying to export to Korean market, that kind of transportation cost too is covered to many portion of the retail price too. So both countries and publishers trying to look into this, how can closely work or cooperate together on the e-publishing techniques, technologies, or business model between two countries will be a win-win situation for both parties.
The written word and books are a very important part of our lives, and not only are they a repository of education and wisdom, but I think they shape character. And particularly in a time when the internet is really catching up, we have a lot of knowledge on the internet, but it's really the books which give us the wisdom. And if I can revert back to a very simple proposition, because in project management, you're given the option of fast, good, and cheap, but you can only take any 2. So on the internet, we can get the fast and the cheap, but not maybe the good. So I think we need to fall back, we need to improve the book culture, the reading culture in coming generations, and I think these are subjects which need deliberation.
The future looks rosy, but let that not delude us into thinking that it is easy to create. It is still an uphill task, needing constant nudging, encouragement, and always more energy and fresh thinking. Not till an entire generation of Indians is hooked to books can we put up our feet and rest. For now, we are content that we do put up our feet, not to rest, but to dip into the ocean of pleasures that is a book.